Welcome to Founders Future, a podcast powered by Closers.io, where we explore the journeys of innovative entrepreneurs and the road ahead for them and their companies. I'm your host, Milan Kohut, and in each episode, we uncover the stories behind impactful ventures, the challenges faced, the lessons learned, and the strategies fueling future growth. Today, I'm absolutely thrilled to be joined by Dr. Haley Perlus, a sport and performance psychologist, keynote speaker, author, and coach who applies elite athletes' mental strategies to drive peak performance in sports, business, and wellness. Her work equips professionals with practical tools to embrace pressure, sharpen focus, and build self-belief, drawing from her PhD in sports psychology and certifications in coaching, fitness, and nutrition. With that being said, Haley, let me officially welcome you to Founders Future.
Thank you so much, Milan. I'm honored. I'm honored to be part of your podcast and share some information.
It's a pleasure to have you here. Thank you so much for taking the time. This is going to be a great conversation, so we're going to jump right into it. What I love to do with all of my guests is a bit of traveling back in time, right? So before you even had this company, what were you doing before? And then eventually, what was the motivation for starting the business?
I was one of the lucky ones who knew this is what I wanted to do when I was 12 years old. And
Wow.
the short story is that I was an athlete growing up, and I had a coach who put a lot of expectations on me. In one particular race, he bet on me to win that race. And he told me right before I was about to compete. And I tell this story because it worked out favorably. I did win the race, but it was a moment where it could have gone one of two ways. When a coach bets on an athlete, that could go negatively.
Oh, that's brutal.
It could create a lot of anxiety and fear and frustration and maybe anger. For me, it did not. It created passion and challenge and hopefulness and confidence. And so I was always curious as to why that was. And my coach told me when I won that race, it's amazing what your performance can be when you get your head straight. And at 12 years old, I went home and I told my parents that I wanted to help others get their head straight so that their bodies could do what they've been training it to do.
So you're telling me at 12 years old, you already knew what you want to do as an adult.
100%.
Good. Well, let me tell you this. I have no idea what I was doing at 12 years old, but it definitely wasn't this. So, I mean,
And
good for you.
yes, yes. And it's funny because when 12-year-olds tell me what they want to do, I hear it and I would never say that's not going to happen. But, we'll see what happens. Let's expose yourself to new things. For whatever reason, I stuck with it, and it's been my North Star ever since.
Oh, I'm loving this. Good for you. What a journey. Lovely. Now, Haley, we're going to talk about what the business looks like today. I'm pretty sure there was a lot of pivoting and adjusting because you've been in the space for a long time now. So, my goal right now is to really get the listeners close to, first of all, who it is exactly that you're trying to help right now, and also what are the core offerings that you have in place for your clients.
Right. So, as a sport and performance psychology expert, I'm looking to enhance all of our performance using sport specific techniques. And we apply those sport specific techniques, so the science of sport, to business, obviously athletics, sport, and your wealth and health being. So, what does that mean? For athletes, I'm looking to turn athletes into their best competitors because there are a lot of great athletes out there, but not every great athlete can compete well. So I want to create great competitors. In the business world, it's really all about embracing pressure as a performance enhancer. So using those high expectations, coupling that with high support so that you can go and achieve all of your goals. And from a health and wellness perspective, whatever you want to do, follow through on your intentions. Well, you need a sport mind and apply that to all of your health goals.
I love that. I love that. Now that we have a better understanding of who it is that you're trying to help, which is like three main groups of people, why don't you walk us through like the programs or the stages that your clients go through so that we have an idea what it feels like to be your client, the frequency of working with you, how long it takes for you to set them up for success. Tell us everything.
Sure. So in my sport business, I'm primarily, does not mean always, but I'm primarily focused on the, pro Olympic the Olympic and pro bound athletes. So 17 to 25-year-olds looking to go to the Olympics, make it to the next level in professional sports, or maybe they're already there. And I have a competitive excellence program, which initially is a 3-month program. So that's one-on-one coaching with me. They go through that program. It is not a step one, step two, step three. We're just embraced with each other for 3 months. And then after that, it's more of an a la carte. Let's see how it feels. Call me when needed. Maybe we want to continue a little bit. With the business and the corporate world, I deliver keynotes, I deliver day trainings, and then I also have partnerships with corporations where I go in there maybe once a month, for example, and roll out some of this mindset and psychological science to the company throughout leadership, management, directors, CEOs.
Beautiful. Now, when it comes to the business side of your clientele, do you also work one-on-one with individuals, or is this solely in the B2B sector where you come into the corporates and organizations and work with their teams?
Great question. It is both. I do have a one-on-one, executive coaching practice as well.
Beautiful. Now, also, what I wanted to ask you, there is a lot of professionals when it comes to peak performance, working with those, mindsets and perspectives. They are leaning more towards some creating a community and really setting up the group coaching model just to have something more scalable, let's say, where you can impact a lot more people at the same time. I'm very curious, is this something that you already dabbled into? Is this part of your idea for the future of the company? What is your perspective?
My passion is one-on-one coaching. My passion is getting up in front of a live audience and delivering these trainings and hearing their stories. And of course, I have the knowledge, but really being able to tailor make that knowledge and deliver it to their specific needs. So I do really have a passion for that. But from a scalability, it is important. So I do have programs, I do have master classes, anywhere from $25 to, hundreds or thousands of dollars. And so I do have all of that there. Most often people come to me because they want to work with me directly, and I value that.
Mhm. Yeah, this is exactly what I wanted to talk about and really look at it through the lenses of you as a business owner. Because even though this is where the passion lies, at the same time, there's only so many people that you can serve on a one-on-one basis, right? So, do you feel like this is more of a future of the company in terms of creating those master classes? Or would you alternatively like to bring other coaches to maybe work under you, work with your methodologies, and leverage on the knowledge that you've collected over the years?
Absolutely. I'm open to everything. So it's interesting in sports psychology, one of the main topics is goal setting.
Mm.
And if you asked me my take on goal setting, you probably wouldn't get an answer you'd think you'd get. So I have my passion, I have my values, I know what I'm good at, my strengths. And from a goal setting perspective, I have like weekly and let's say monthly and process goals. I don't really think that too far ahead. I'm not a huge believer in a 5-year plan because
Mhm.
things happen. I learn things I didn't know. Things evolve. I make changes. So I like to consider myself as something who's open mind, who's an open-minded individual, very curious to what can happen, never going to shut something down unless I have very good reason to.
Hence, what I mentioned about adjustments and pivoting in business, right? It's never going
Yes,
to be linear, so you have to be
yes,
adjustable. I love that.
absolutely.
But also, what I would like to build on top of is obviously, you mentioned that your passion really lies with the one-on-one, where you can go deep with your clients and really walk them through the journey one-on-one and through every step of the way. Now, looking at your business and knowing that there's basically two separate arms, working with individuals, but also working with corporates, how did you go about setting the structure and maybe the ratio of what is taking your focus and how did you approach that situation?
No, that's a great question. And yes, my passion is, I think the word is live, right? So whether it's live one-on-one or live going into, the business room, the
Mhm.
boardroom, whatever it would mean, and being present. How I took that on? Well, I first started just in sports. So I was an athlete. My focus was sports psychology. I just gotten my PhD in sports psychology, so I started to apply it in sports. And then I met a few individuals who were applying it in the corporate world and looking for facilitators. So they were looking for coaches. And so I applied. I actually picked up the phone and cold called And I then became a facilitator, which I still am today with my mentors and another partnership. And then while I was doing that, I then was able to start my own coaching business as well. So I first started in an arena where I was confident because I knew sports, I knew the language, I knew the people. And then when I started honing in on my skills to develop these concepts, to coach, to present, I then expanded and I became someone else's coach, a facilitator for them. And from there, I moved on to having my own coaching program. And I do have some facilitators that work with me as well in my content.
Hmm. So, an advice for anybody listening to this right now would be basically hone in on what you already know, master it, and then move on to something else.
I believe so. I mean, this is big stuff right now. So if you just completely jump into the, deep end in all aspects, I don't know that that's going to be your best shot. So I went where I was comfortable while I was learning a new skill. And that's
Mm,
actually what I'm constantly doing. I'm always going where I'm somewhat feel comfortable, and then I'm applying a new skill, learning a new skill. Always a learner while I'm a teacher.
I love that. I love that. Now, when you retrospectively look back at all these years that you spend in the industry, and if you look at some people maybe just joining the industry and starting from scratch, what would you say is like the biggest challenge in terms of succeeding in your industry?
That's a really great question, and I do think it goes back to what I just said. Go where you have relationships already, go where you feel comfortable. So my
Hmm.
sport was ski racing. I started in ski racing. I then moved into other sports. Majority of my business is referral. And I really value
Wow.
that. I pride myself on that. And so, I was working with one ski racer. Maybe they had a sibling who was a golfer, and then it transitioned into another sport. But I really wanted to feel somewhat in control. And as long as I have something or somewhere that I feel in control, I then feel like I can start to learn and develop new skills. So if someone is specifically starting out in sport and performance psychology, most often, not all the time, but most often they have a background of sports. Go towards that particular sport where you already speak the language, you already know the people, and then start adapting the sports psychology principles and then begin to grow from there.
You mentioning the referrals, you basically opened up the doors to a completely different chapter of the podcast, but let's talk about it in more in depth. Obviously, when it comes to succeeding with this type of project and business, having a good client acquisition system in place, it's a key, right? So I'm curious, aside from those referrals and word of mouth, what does it actually look like for you on the front of marketing and maybe specifically generating leads to make all of this happen?
Yes. And I'm actually new to marketing and generating leads online, for example. So, as I said, I still do, the phone rings or people contact me because their husband or their wife or their partner saw me on stage at a keynote for their business. And now, they want to hire me for their corporate project, athletes, siblings, friends. So, it's always been referral. And then I was never one on social media. I didn't have a so I have always had a Facebook account. I don't remember the last time I actually logged in. So it was one of those where I had it, but I never used it. And I never had an Instagram account, for example, until about 2 years ago. And that is a challenge for me because it's not my area of expertise. I've had to work on my own mindset because I'm telling athletes and people to get off their phones while I'm starting my own social media presence. So I had to work through that piece of am I a hypocrite? No, I'm not because I'm still teaching and connecting with people in that form. And then I also had to stay authentic to myself. So like I said with I where I shared with you, Milan, is that I like to be live. I like to work with people live, whether that's in the coaching or in the training. And when you go online, it's no longer live. So, how do I maintain my authenticity? How do I create content that I'm proud of, even though it may not follow the various popular trends?
Hmm.
So, that's actually been a struggle, but I do that now. I do have an Instagram account, I do have a LinkedIn account, I do have a YouTube channel, and I'm really actually proud of the way that I feel that I'm in charge of the content. I have people to support me with the marketing and posting and various things. I have a branding and marketing coach who I absolutely love, and she has helped me tremendously. And so I'm definitely, accessing that route.
Beautiful. I think that today's day and age that we live in, it's pretty much a necessity for you as a business owner to be online and use this as an opportunity to not only show people who you are and what you stand for, but really engage with your audience and leverage it for the potential of generating leads. But I'm very curious, knowing that it took you some time to even come around this perspective and change it up. What really was the pivotal moment for you or the aha moment that you had and really said to yourself like, okay, well, Haley, you need to do this.
I think people were contacting me from referrals and then asking me where can I learn more about you? And I've always had a website, but maybe they were asking for that, Instagram link, or maybe they were asking for that LinkedIn post. They just wanted to see some of my content. So that really sparked the interest. And listen, I'm a competitor like everyone else. And so if this is the name of the game, I need to be able to play the game. But I am
Mhm.
going to do it in my way. And I'm a big believer, Frank Sinatra has a song, My Way. I'm a big believer in all things, learn the fundamentals and then do it your way. And something that has really helped me applying sports psychology to my business is in sports psychology, we can't only focus about the results. If we only focus on the results, we'll actually not get the results. We have to focus on the process. We have to focus on our performance. We have to focus on our tactics, our technique, our strategy. So I'm not focused on the likes. I'm not focused on the number of followers I have. I'm not focused on the amount of money that I'm going to make. My father was one of my greatest coaches, and he always taught me, he's successful. He always taught me that the money will come when you focus on doing a good job. So I'm always really zoned into the content, and that's how I stay competitive, stay up with the times, but do it in a way that I'm proud of and do it in a way that I feel is getting my message heard.
Yeah, it needs to feel authentic. Yeah,
Must. And I think that is actually giving me a competitive advantage.
beautiful. By the way, Frank Sinatra, My Way, that's my favorite song of all time. But back
Really?
to business. Yes, really. So I was just waiting for the opportunity to share it with you. But no, just kidding. Going back to the business though, I also want to touch on something else. You mentioned that you've already invested into somebody else who is a marketing coach, who is basically walking you through this path. And also some people who are actually helping you with the activities that you need to take on the front of social media. I'm curious, delegation is really becoming one of the biggest topics on the podcast. So I want to see a little bit more about the philosophy that you have on delegation and when is the right timing to hire somebody, bring them into the ecosystem. How does the structure work? Do you also have some people to take the calls, close deals? How does it work for you overall?
Yeah, I'll get real technical with you, Milan. I hired a coach that coaches the way I coach. Boutique, really caring, one-on-one, goes above and beyond, doesn't overpromise and underdeliver, the exact opposite. And I trust. And I understand that I have strengths and I understand that I have weaknesses or, just areas that I never really improved upon. And I don't want to be amazing at everything. I want to be able to do what I do best and then partner with the rest, as they say. And so I hired her first. We developed a relationship, we developed trust. And then she started giving me some, I guess, assignments, some homework. And then from there, we started looking to see what I'm good at, what I'm not so good at, what I'm doing, what I'm not necessarily following through on. And then the areas that I wasn't good at, or the areas that I'm not necessarily following through on, I'm having a hard time with it, we started outsourcing. And she gave me people from her team, right? So, yes, it's extra. I hired them, but now we're all working together. We all have the same language. We're all communicating. And as I grow, perhaps more and more of that will happen. And that's how we decided when to outsource. I would start doing it first, and then I'm not really liking this. I don't really understand it. It's not working. I'm not following through. This is actually something that I'm kind of putting off, putting off, putting off. Those are the things that we started outsourcing.
Beautiful. Now, from my perspective, investing into into yourself, but also into somebody who is much more experienced and can really help you take yourself and the business to the next level. That's tremendously important. But just knowing and having the opportunity to work with thousands of business owners at this point, I know a lot of people struggle with it. And for some reason, they feel like investing into somebody like a coach or a consultant is somehow going to take them back, right? Now, with you, the philosophy is different. So, what I'm seeking is what do you think this is different for you personally? And what would be your advice to somebody who is still on the fence in terms of whether it's a smart idea to invest into a coach or not?
There's this, I think we have to drop our egos. I'm going to get real direct here. Is that okay, Milan?
It is. It is very welcome.
I believe we have to drop our egos and be curious to who out there can do it better than us so that we can do what we love to do and what we're good at. And that's what I did. I quickly realized, and she was the second coach. So I had hired a coach before that who actually opened my eyes. And I didn't actually seek him. He offered his services to me, and I was curious enough to accept it. And then we worked together for 3 months, and it was nice. It opened my eyes and made me want more.
Hmm.
But I don't know that he and I were the right fit or that he could deliver on the want more. And so I then found the more. And then I was open. And here's a couple of things. I understand, again, this is something that I teach others. So I want to be able to walk the walk. I understand that things take time. You may not get results immediately. This one lead magnet, and this is an example of mine because we're going through lead magnets, and the first three didn't work. So, I have to be patient. I have to understand that there's some trial and error. It's not my coach's fault. It's it's a work in progress. So you have to understand that. And then also I think people are scared of spending money. And you have to look at your relationship with money. And I believe that to make money, you have to spend money. Now, I'm not just throwing money out there. I'm very diligent. I start one at a time. But then when you really start to trust and you really start to believe and understand, why on earth am I holding myself back? Why am I getting in the way of my own dream? So that's
Very
when I
well
made the
said.
decision.
I love that. Beautiful. Now, Haley, I said it multiple times. You've been in the industry for a long time. And even just after talking to you for 15, 20 minutes, I see how much ambition there is to impact even a lot more lives. So I'm curious what the future of the company is going to look like. And especially if you think about the short-term goals, maybe the next 6 to 12 months, let us better understand how big of a company you're building. What is really next for you? So what are the biggest goals, milestones, revenue, anything that comes to your mind?
I think it's really important for me to start off going back a little bit. So I have a mentor who is he's now since retired. He's still doing some passion projects, but about a year ago of the time that we're recording this, a little over a year ago, I called him up and I said, I feel really confident. I feel like I'm making really good headway, got some traction, lots of referrals. I'm ready to grow my business. Now, he is someone who sold his company to like a Fortune 40 company. So he, has had huge success. And so I asked him to guide me, to lead me. And he said he gave me a project and he wanted me to write down what I want my day to day look like, and what I value most in life. And I did this exercise for him. And then he looked at my assignment, if you will, and he looked at me straight faced and he said, I'm not going to let you build the company I built. You don't actually want that because you want a life. You have a husband, you have a lifestyle. You want to be, for example, at 2 o'clock in the afternoon riding your bike. And it's true. Now, I'm not afraid to get on a plane. I do often, but I also want a certain lifestyle. I value health, I value adventure, and I value love in addition to my business. So when you say, how big are you going to grow? The answer is, I don't know yet. But I do know that since he and I worked and I was able to just dive into what I value most, which is live training, and really dive into the people, like my passion, which in the sports is that Olympic and pro bound athlete, 17 to 25, and these corporate events where I get to go in and deliver live trainings and really meet and work and get inside. because I have that focus, that in and of itself, law of attraction, I don't know, maybe, but that in and of itself has, definitely escalated. Now, as I said before, I'm not someone who sets a lot of goals. I actually don't set revenue goals. That's a goal that my father taught me. I like to know my competition. I like to know what people are paying for, and then I set my fees accordingly and then also if I get too busy, then I can increase my fees, right? So you go with that. But from a goal stand for the next 6 to 12 months, I believe that I will always do the one-on-one because I love that. And then when I get to a point, which I guess I already am because I've already created 3 master classes, for example, when I get to a point where now I'm either losing the one-on-one connection or I'm losing what I want in my personal life, that's a sign where it's okay, now it's starting to build. And then I take all the information. So for example, it's already in the back of my head. For example, with my one-on-one coaching clients, they're part of a program. And after our session, I always like upload these little 2-minute resources, these 2 little minute videos. Well, that's going to be a product one day. And I'm already creating these 2-minute videos. And then I know one day I'm going to put them all together, troubleshooting product, and then I'm going to be able to sell that online for continuity. But I don't have a specific deadline. I don't have a specific, it's just I know it's going to happen. So I'm really working the now and developing, again, this competitive excellence program and then the corporate training. And then after that, I'm really open-minded.
Yeah, but at the same time, it feels like you're in a position where if you could just maintain what you have already, you'd be happy with that.
Well, I'm happy with my life, but I want more. And so that's okay. I feel like I see it's so funny. Like there's this, I don't know if maybe you've covered this in one of your episodes, or maybe you've gone through it yourself, Milan, this idea of being satisfied, but also wanting more. And I believe in a good, healthy balance.
Hmm. Yeah,
And,
absolutely.
so yeah, no, I want more. I know that I can create more, but I'm not going to sacrifice that for being really committed in the work that I'm doing today.
I think that is a very healthy perspective to have. And to be honest, I feel like this is the end goal to be in a position like that, where you're happy with the lifestyle that you're living, but at the same time, you still have the urge and the drive to build more, impact more, and spread the message, right? Now, Haley, before we wrap this up, let me ask you one of my favorite questions ever. If you could travel back in time, though, and speak to your younger self, maybe at the very, very beginning of your journey as an entrepreneur, what would be the best piece of advice that you would give yourself?
If you find what you love, stick with what you love and really have that narrow message. It is a lesson that I continue to learn. My marketing and branding coach, I mean, sports psychology and performance psychology is a niche, but she even advised me and recommended that I dive even further, which is why I'm working with the concept of pressure and, high expectations plus high support. So focus on that. But I will share a brief story. In the beginning, when I started out, probably 5 years in, I got a little bit caught up in being popular and where I could make the most money. This is why I'm so focused on not focusing on money. And I changed from sport to weight loss. I applied all of my concepts and theories that I've learned in my PhD. And I was like, you know what? Weight loss is a multi-million dollar, trillion-dollar industry. There's no sports psychologist in weight loss. I'm going to go there. I even wrote a book called How to Lose the Last 10 Pounds. And I honestly believe I don't really look at it as a mistake because I actually liked the information, but it wasn't taking me where I really wanted to go. I wasn't really sleeping well all that night. I felt a little bit more, I didn't feel as authentic. So again,
Yeah,
I was chasing money, prestige, big business. And so I went where I thought it wasn't the right call.
I love this. I feel like we could be talking for the next 2 hours easily. But Haley, at this point, I just want to say thank you for taking the time today, sharing this story with the audience and with me. I enjoyed my time. It was a pleasure to have you on the podcast.
Thanks.
Now, it, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say thanks. Pleasure for me too.
Gotcha. It was a pleasure to have you. Now, if anybody from the listeners wanted to get in touch, reach out, maybe even work with you, what is the best way to go about it?
Yeah, the best way, because it covers all three of those domains, business, sport, and health and fitness, is my website, drhaleyperlus.com, just Dr. Haley, Haley, Perlus.com. There's an opt-in, so you can get my weekly newsletters, but there's a section to write me a message, and I get those. So this is why I like the live. I get every message. Send me a note. I'll reply.
Beautiful. drhaleyperlus.com, correct?
That's right. Thanks, Milan.
Beautiful. Thanks again. Now, to our listeners, if today's conversation inspired you as well, make sure to subscribe to Founders Future on your favorite platform. And also, if you're a business owner, more specifically a consultant or a coach, or you have an agency, and you're trying to scale the business and really enhance both your sales and marketing efforts, also visit closers.io, get in touch with our team, and discover how exactly we scaled our company from 0 to over 30 million per year in less than 3 years. Until then, keep on crushing it, and I'll see you on the next one.